Once upon a time, in the bustling heart of Lagos, two ambitious souls chased their dreams so fervently that they missed the one important thing of all: family. Watch this interesting tale as it has moral lesson to teach us. Nkechi had always been driven by ambition. A top banker in Lagos, Nigeria, she had climbed the corporate ladder through hard work, long hours, and relentless determination. She wasn't just successful, she was a powerhouse. But despite all the accolades, something was missing. There was a part of her life that remained empty, a part that no amount of money or recognition could fill. Nduka, an entrepreneur with a thriving tech company, was in the same boat. His career was everything to him. Late nights filled with strategies, board meetings, and business trips consumed him. He was so focused on his success that the idea of personal life had always felt secondary. But everything changed when they met at a corporate event. Nkechi was the guest of honor and Nduka was there to network with investors. Their conversation started casually, but as they shared stories about their work, they quickly realized that they shared the same mindset: workaholism. Their connection was instant. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was something deeper. They saw in each other a kindred spirit. Two people who knew the sacrifice it took to achieve success. Slowly, their bonds grew stronger and they began to meet regularly, often late at night after their busy days, discussing everything from career to their dreams. They got married a year later in a luxurious ceremony that was the talk of the town. It was extravagant, glamorous, and the perfect reflection of their lives. But even on their wedding night, their focus didn't shift. Instead of taking time off, they boarded a plane to Dubai for their honeymoon, a luxurious hotel, the beach, and of course, work. They spent their days beside the pool, each with a laptop in hand, checking emails and answering calls. Their honeymoon wasn't a break from work, it was an extension of it. The newlyweds seemed to have it all: love, success, and the promise of an endless future together. But little did they know, there was something life-changing on the horizon. 3 years after their marriage, Nkechi and Nduka found themselves at a crossroads. Their careers were flourishing, but they both realized that something was still missing. They wanted to start a family, to create a legacy that was more than just business success. After much thought and discussion, they decided to have a child. Nkechi, always the career-driven woman, had hesitated. She feared that having a baby will distract her from her ambitions. But after a long conversation with Nduka, her husband, she agreed. And soon, they were overjoyed to learn that they were expecting. 9 months later, they welcomed a beautiful, bouncing baby boy, whom they named Alanna. He was perfect, a healthy, bouncing baby boy with a sweet smile and sparkling eyes. He quickly became the light of their lives. But despite the joy of parenthood, the couple didn't slow down. Their work still demanded their time and attention. They decided to hire a live-in nanny to help care for their newborn. After an exhaustive search and recommendations, they found Rose and Kofi, two teenagers who seemed like the perfect fit. Rose, 16, was sweet and gentle. Kofi, 17, was energetic and had a natural way with children. The couple was confident in their decision and trusted these young nannies to take good care of their son, Alanna. At first, everything seemed perfect. Alanna was in good hands, and the couple continued with their busy careers without worry. But that peace would not last long. As the months went by, Rose and Kofi's behavior began to change. At first, it was subtle, little things that didn't seem out of the ordinary. They started taking more control of the house, making decisions without consulting Nkechi or Nduka. But soon, things started to feel off. Rose, once the picture of kindness, began to treat Alanna with a strange coldness. She would yell at him at the smallest of things, scold him when he cried, and punish him in ways that seemed unnecessary. She would feed him rotten food, food that was spoiled or barely edible. When Alanna tried to refuse it, she would warn him not to tell his parents about her treatment, threatening that if he did, she would punish him severely. Alanna, terrified, didn't know what to do. His trust in the world around him began to elude, but didn't tell his mom or dad. They were always so busy, so absorbed in their work. They didn't notice the small changes in their son. They didn't see the bruises, the sad look in his eyes, or the silent way he would shrink from attention. Alanna's behavior became increasingly strange. He grew withdrawn, silent, and often sad. His once energetic, playful personality had been replaced by a quiet, fearful demeanor. But even then, Nkechi and Nduka didn't see it. They were too wrapped up in their own worlds. They believed their son was in good hands, and they trusted Rose and Kofi completely. It wasn't until much later that they would learn how wrong they were. As Alanna turned 5, the changes in him became even more apparent. He no longer smiled, and when he did, it was a hollow, empty expression. His small body grew frail, and he started to cry for no reason at all. He would refuse food, retreating into corners and away from anyone who tried to approach him. His eyes, once full of life, now seemed dull and lifeless. Rose and Kofi's behavior became even more disturbing. Rose, who had once been a caring nanny, began to treat Alanna with even more cruelty. She continued to beat him for the smallest mistakes, yelling at him when he couldn't do something as simple as picking up his toys. She even began to molest him sexually, justifying it in her own twisted way as a form of comfort. So one day, when Rose and Kofi were alone at home, they decided to leave Alanna unattended. They went to their room to enjoy themselves, locking the door behind them. Meanwhile, Alanna, hungry and desperate for food, tried to reach the shelf where the food was kept. In his attempt to grab something to eat, he lost his balance and fell, hitting his head hard on the floor. Of course, Rose and Kofi didn't notice. They were too wrapped up in their own world, too consumed in their own desires. It wasn't until they had finished, when Rose finally left the room to get drinking water for her boyfriend Kofi, that she noticed something was terribly wrong. As she walked into the kitchen and saw Alanna lying on the floor, motionless, her heart raced as she realized he wasn't responding. She screamed, and Kofi rushed to her side. Together, they took Alanna to the hospital, but it was too late. The hospital was cold and sterile, the smell of antiseptic in the air. The doctor requested for Alanna's parents, Nkechi and Nduka. When they arrived, they saw Rose and Kofi looking sad, but didn't question them. The hospital felt like a cold, empty space, every wall closing in on Nkechi and Nduka. The bright, harsh light above them only made the darkness inside their heart feel even heavier. As they walked through the halls, the sound of their footsteps echoed in their ears, like a reminder that everything had changed. When they entered the doctor's office, the doctor stood there, his face kind but filled with sorrow. He didn't need to say much. They could see it in his eyes. "I'm so sorry," he said gently. "We did everything we could, but your son didn't make it. He was brought in dead." The words hit them like a wall of stone. Nduka's legs felt like they were going to give way, but he managed to hold on, supporting Nkechi. She had started to crumble. Her world turned dark. Her breath caught in her throat, and she felt as if the ground had slipped away beneath her feet. How? How could this happen?" Nkechi whispered, her voice trembling. She couldn't believe it. Just hours ago, Alanna had been smiling, running around, full of life. How could he be gone? It didn't quite make sense to her. Nduka held her tight, his own tears flowing freely, mixing with hers. Neither of them could make sense of it. The pain in their hearts was unbearable, as if someone had torn a part of them away that could never be replaced. They had trusted Rose and Kofi. They had trusted them to care for their precious son, their only child, to protect him. But now their world was falling apart. All the dreams they had for Alanna, all the plans for his future were gone, just like that. Days passed, but the numbness never left. Every moment felt like a nightmare that they couldn't wake up from. The police had started their investigation, but the couple couldn't even bring themselves to ask what really happened. Not yet. The grief was too raw, too deep. But the truth came, wrapped in an autopsy report that would change everything. The couple sat in their living room, the silence between them heavy as they read the words aloud, one by one. Alanna suffered from physical abuse and severe emotional trauma, the report began. Nkechi's hand shook as she read the words. The injuries were consistent with neglect, bruises, cuts, malnutrition. They kept reading, but each line made it harder to breathe. Their son, sweet and innocent Alanna, had been hurt over and over. The people they had trusted had mistreated him, and the weight of that truth was almost too much to bear. Rose, the girl they thought was sweet and kind, had been feeding Alanna rotten food that would make him sick. She had warned him not to tell anyone, especially his parents, about the way she treated him. Alanna, so young and trusting, hadn't known what to do. He had been too scared, too afraid of what Rose would do to him if he told them. And worse still, Rose had been making him feel like he wasn't loved. She even made him watch as she and Kofi played the bedroom mommy and daddy roles. She molested him sexually. But it wasn't just Rose. Kofi too had played the part. He had taken advantage of the situation, stealing from Nduka's office and turning a blind eye to Alanna's suffering. He had been so focused on his own needs, on his own selfish desires, that he never stopped to think about the boy they were all supposed to care for. The truth hit them both like a hammer. Their son had suffered in ways they could never have imagined, and they hadn't been there for him. They had trusted the wrong people, and now their little boy was gone forever. Tears fell from Nkechi's eyes as she read the last part of the report. The cause of the death was a head injury sustained in a fall. The image of Alanna alone, scared and hot, made her chest tighten. She couldn't breathe. How had they missed it? How had they not seen the warning signs? The guilt was suffocating, a weight that they will carry on forever. The days after Alanna's death felt like a blur. The funeral was over, but it didn't bring closure. Nothing could. There was no peace, no way to undo what had happened. There was only an aching emptiness that threatened to swallow everything they knew. Rose and Kofi were arrested, but that didn't make the pain go away. They confessed to what they had done, but their words fell on deaf ears. Nothing could bring back Alanna. Nothing could take away the guilt that drowned Nkechi and Nduka every time they closed their eyes. I should have known, Nkechi whispered one night, sitting by the window, staring at the stars that couldn't bring her any comfort. I should have seen it. How could I not see? Nduka sat beside her, his eyes bloodshot, his face hollow. We were so focused on our work. We trusted them, but they failed him, Nkechi. We both failed him. It was the hardest truth to face. They had both been so consumed with their careers, their dreams, that they had neglected the one thing that mattered most, their precious son, Alanna. They could never undo the damage. They could never bring Alanna back. But as they held each other, they knew they had found a way to move forward, for their son's memory, for their family, and for themselves. It wasn't easy. Every corner of their home reminded them of the little boy they had lost. The toys he had once played with, the pictures of him smiling, all felt like a cruel joke. How could they live in a house filled with memories of a child they could never see again? But with time, they slowly started to rebuild their lives. They leaned on each other for strength, sharing their pain, but also slowly allowing moments of healing to creep in. They talked about Alana, about the joy he had brought them, and the promise to honor him every day. They eventually welcomed twins, a boy and a girl, bringing new joy and hope into their home. Nkechi became fully involved in their lives, never again taking her family for granted. She spent every moment she could with them, making sure they knew they were loved and cherished. The story of Alana is a painful one, but it holds a lesson for all of us. Life is short, and we often get caught up in the busyness of our own world. But the people we love needs us, really need us. Success, money, and achievements are nothing if we don't take time to care for the ones who matter most. Alana's story teaches us to be present, to notice the little things that can show us when something is wrong. It reminds us to trust, but also to be vigilant, to listen when our loved ones need us. Most of all, it teaches us to never take for granted the time we have with the ones we love. Nkechi and Nduka will never forget Alana. He will always be part of them, and they will carry him in their hearts forever. But through their pain, they found a way to live again, to honor their son by sharing his story and helping others. In the end, they dedicated their lives to spreading awareness about the dangers of neglect and the importance of family. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. I would love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. And let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Stay awesome. Bye!